Good morning. So I've been gone for 2.5, 3 weeks. Well, 2 weeks and 3 days, and it's like 4 days now. So it's 2.5 weeks since I photographed the garden. Now my brother watered everything while I was gone and fertilized at least once. And he sent me about 38 pictures. So I guess I'm gonna have to learn how to edit and share this with you because it's absolutely fun. But we're going to take a tour this morning. It's about 9:30, 9:45 in the morning, Sunday morning. So this is a little wilted. This gets the most sun. Oh, look it. He didn't see this one over here. That gets the most sun. It's quite, that looks like it might be beyond repair. So this is the lower decks boxes, rail boxes that are doing really well. And you can see out into the garden there's lots of impatiens along the border, orange impatiens. Okay, so we're gonna look, a little wilty, so obviously dried out. These baskets have plastic liners that go up almost all the way, and it's never been a problem in terms of overwatering. And the reason these baskets have done so well, I believe, is, well, first of all, they're good plants, but I use biotone. Remember, I can't use biotone in the garden because the bears will dig everything up. But I thought this year I'm going to use it in my rail boxes and hanging baskets and see if it makes a difference. And wow, does it make a difference. And of course, I've been fertilizing almost every week. So here's the tomato plants. This one that's a little orange cherry tomatoes has been putting out. Of course, I haven't been here to harvest. My herbs are doing all right. Oh, the basil is wilted down really severely. Well, we'll water today as soon as I get done documenting all this. This is a tomato plant that has grown beautifully, but it didn't put on any flowers and it hasn't put on any tomatoes, of course. So our grand experiment with geraniums, the geraniums have finally taken off and are a little bit taller than the impatiens. These impatiens are 12 to 14 inches tall, at least, from elbow to tippy, to my fingers. They're that long. It might be more than that. We have spider webs. I have spiders that grow or build spiders in this particular spot every year. I think they live behind that wall over there. So our potato vine has really gone to town. This is a variegated version obviously, and this is a purple. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's a short and thick. That's a nice. And this is our ivy, about 4 different kinds of ivy that we planted here. And it's not dying, but it's not particularly thriving, and it probably needs water and fertilizer as well. The poinsettia is doing well. Remember last fall it turned red on its own outside before I could take it inside. Let me pull it away from the wall a little bit more. Oh! I pulled it off its I want it to grow a little bit more bushy. It's because of the wall. See how it's gotten a back. And this up here has been reaching for the sun out from under the, so we'll have to reorganize this a little bit. Maybe I'll put it closer to the rail where it gets more sun. The truth is I really don't mind if it has a bit of a back because I'm putting it in a corner when I put it inside the house. Well, how shall we start here? So the sun is that high in the sky right now, up over the mountain and the tree canopy. And so we can see we're starting to get some sun in the garden. Not very much, mostly it's dappled. But you can see here on the porch where I get virtually no sun. This time of the morning we do get a little bit. And the dragon wing begonia is trying. Ferns are doing well because they do well anyway. There's an impatient and this lovely little plant that I love, Rex begonia. Our Boston fern must be getting the right amount of light because it's doing fine. And even though this back part doesn't get any light to talk about, it still has a good rounded shape. And spider webs again. I don't know if you can catch that. Maybe not. Okay, what have we got here? Well, the dragon begonia is doing all right. This is doing great. I love this plant. And I just set it in a pot, inside a pot, inside of a pot. Let's see how our impatiens are doing in the pond with their roots in water. So I saw Laura with her pond and her plants that, you know, she was grooming up, and she placed her pots, put her plants in a pot and then sunk them in the ground, in the pond, excuse me. So I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get some small pots that I can, of course, they'll help them stand up straight too. I know I haven't got the fountain and the water thing fixed yet. I can only take so much humiliation, and it's usually about 3 before I have to step away. Oh, our impatiens back here are doing well. This is an example of dappled sun, and this is why we love impatiens. See this view up through the garden? All my orange impatiens up there. Okay, let's walk some more. Let's look behind the pond here, my water feature. See how everything's doing. See, I left this in a pot. This was a double pink impatiens. It's just doing great. Here were some that were planted in the ground. I don't know that they're doing as great. They're probably 80% of the size. Here's our polka dot that we planted in the ground. Did we plant these in the ground? Did we put them in pots? No, we planted those in pots. It'll be easy to take them into the greenhouse. So this plant right here, this polka dot, there's 2 or 3 here, planted in the ground last year, I believe, and we pulled it and put it in the greenhouse, and I planted it out here in the ground before I'd figured out about pots inside of pots in the ground. And it has doubled in size. Now this had the electro gardening stick stuck in there with it until I pulled it about 3 weeks ago. I don't know if that made a difference or not. It's supposed to. Oh, here's some of these red. I think those are the sun impatiens. Oh, well, this pot of salvia is doing better. You must be getting a little bit of light, enough light in the late afternoon. I've just about bailed on salvia because I don't have enough light. Okay, so about 3 weeks ago, I thinned out all these baby impatiens that had reseeded from last year. And you remember, a couple, 3 months ago, once we got some 80-degree weather, all these impatiens along here are from reseeding from last year. Remember, I thinned them out and then replanted a double row about 6 to 8 inches apart, and look at how they filled in. Well, these are probably, maybe they've been devoting all their energy to putting in roots. They're not as impressive as I thought they would be by now, but I wasn't here to water every day. And the thing to remember about impatiens, and I think also New Guinea impatiens, is it's almost too much. You can't water them too much. They can live with at least impatiens can live with their feet in water. Oh, We'll come back round. Okay, let's walk this way. So this is a place where I put electroculture back in. I moved this from the, and I can't say that my coleus are doing any better. And I think the reason these particular coleus are doing so well may have nothing to do with the electroculture. I'm not saying bad things about electroculture. I'm just observing what's going on with me. This particular colea may be one that does grow bigger. And look at that brilliant red with the green, so it defines it and separates it from the green of the lawn. We're going to have to keep that one. That's going to be a new favorite. Because you see, like for instance, this is a beautiful red too. But it disappears in the shade. You got to have something light. And that's why the orange and the yellow and the red show up so well in the garden. This one also shows up well too. We're going to have to remember that, aren't we? Now I am letting my coleus go to seed because I have lots of babies from seed from last year. They're coming up. See all these babies? Now, I don't think they get big enough. I think it takes too long for them to get big enough to, you know, be of any kind of impact in my garden, but we're going to watch and see. And would you look at how tall? Now, I don't think these are proven winners, this one's right here. I think these were just regular, you know, generic. So how tall is that? That's probably at least waist tall for me. I love these green and white ones. Got to figure out a special way to use those from now on. Here's some of those red with the green edges, of course. We love they just do so well in our garden. They just generally do so well. Oh, what was that? So, you know, stuff drops from the trees all the time. It startles a girl. Is that penstemon? That's beautiful, isn't it? And look at our azaleas are still blooming. These are the kind that bloom twice a year. And they started blooming around the 1st of August. It's spectacular. I thought they only bloomed in the fall. Okay, this is the bed of impatiens that we did just as soon as it was possible to plant outside. And I planted them too close, and look at how tall they are and thick. And that's exactly what I wanted. And look at this plant. This is a perennial. And it comes back. It grows up a flower, bell-shaped flower. There's an example of it. And look at this. This is now probably 4 feet tall. It's bigger than it got last year. It was new last year, and it probably got 3/4 of that size. And it came back on its own with no care at all. Well, I think I'm going to put out here the chicken gizzard that I start. Oh, would you look at how pretty this is? Those coffee cups love this spot. Would you look at how big those are? Those are probably at least 8 to 10 inches in diameter. And they've grown up really tall, probably at least 4 feet. Now, I bought these before I left town for a couple of weeks. And this is a hanging basket, and I was just gonna add it to this pot, you know, and I didn't get to it. My brother says he didn't think there was enough room in there for it. And I just left it. And I bought this dragon begonia and just set it in there. Just set it at the front of those coffee cups. And look at it. It's almost doubled in size since I've been the last 2.5 weeks. Isn't that magnificent? And this shows up well from the porch, from the veranda. Oh, I still haven't gotten those planted, squash plants. And this was the salvia that I was so disappointed in and kind of ignored, and of course it's gone away. These are the hostas that we reallocated from the driveway triangle. And look at how well they're doing. Everything looks dry. As soon as I get finished filming here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do some watering. Herman's Pride, I think she calls that. Oh, it looked like she moved a fern for me. There was a fern in here. Japanese painted fern. A straggler that, you know, found its way. So this is an example of what my Lenten rose looks like in August. And at some point this will get really dense and be a you know, totally covered up bed. But these leaves last year round. It's a year-round green bed. And of course when the blooms come, the Lenten rose blooms come, they last for 2 or 3 months. You know, I moved a lot of babies and spread them around that first year, and it shows. And of course Joy bought 2 or 3 new ones. And the neighbor had some and gave me, I think, 2 or 3. Okay, the moss garden is looking nice, isn't it? With the sun shining through on it. Would you look at that? It looks like the little hostas we planted as an edge around it have suffered. Some of them have been eaten, the top's eaten off by the deer, and they haven't recovered. And you see the hickory nuts? Where is that? Right there. When we have a dry day, I'll have to come in here and take the blower to it. But I have to be careful that I don't lift the moss right off the ground. Oh, here's a view of the hosta. I mean, of the coffee capes from the rear. Do you see how big that is? And beautiful? Oh my. Oh, let us look at the no-no garden. Is that gorgeous? With the sun shining on it? These lilies have been here for a really long time, except for these last 9 that were a gift. And I don't think they get enough sun because they survive, but they're puny. And, you know, I'm going to have to think about relocating them. So this is kind of small. This did have a blossom on it. It's a couple years. And these are all sprawled out. First because I didn't give them any support, and because we had such heavy rain for 3 or 4 days that the blossoms got so heavy the plant just couldn't support them. Okay, let's look at this no-no bed. Okay, first of all, we're gonna ooh and ah over. I think these are impatiens. They're not sun New Guinea impatiens. But look at that. These are travelers. So the plants that were here last year dropped seed, and the rain washed them down, and they were captured by this little ledge here, and they now are blooming up a storm. Would you look at that? We'll take advantage of that. And here's some more. Coleus. The coleus reseeded themselves. Can you see that? Now, we're blessed, okay? We're blessed. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's the middle of August, and we would like these things to be full size as soon as frost is over with, because we only have 6 months of growing, right? In which things can grow outside. So these are from last year's seeds, and they're, what would it be? June, July, 2.5 months to get this much growth on them. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, this is our, I think this is called bottle brush plant. And this, you know, these leaves turn red in the fall. Oak leaf hydrangea. Oh, do you think Joy moved a, or did I do that? Move a azalea up here. I know I took one of the coral bells and moved it down into the garden. More impatiens trying to come up. Okay, let's look at the other side of the no-no garden. So some of these plants are in pots. That's why we get a nice big rounded view. I mean, he did put a lot of soil in here, but look at our hibiscus. This one was the late blooming one. This is the one that had the dark leaves. Looks like I need to put more snail bait around this, doesn't it? This was a later blooming. Oh, look at all of the, oops, Daisy. Look at all of the beautiful pollen on the stamen there. Oh, would you look at how bountiful that is. So look at what we've got going on here. You see all these cut places? Now, either the deer have come along and done their share of pruning, or my family came along and did it. But see, there's still more flowers getting ready to come out. More. It's beautiful, isn't it? Okay, let's walk down the road. Remember I say I don't really care what the garden looks like from this road, but it does look nice. My first priority is how it looks from my veranda. I sit and have my morning coffee. Okay, so this is the back of this hosta. Swoop and the coleus and the orange impatiens. And these are blooming again. Tailend getting ready to bloom again. Looks like one's going to seed here. We'll see what happens with that. Oh, we have some opportunists here. More baby impatiens. Isn't that sweet? We like that. This hydrangea's doing its best. And this is this pot here that gets such lit up with the light. Looks like somebody's moved it. Because it's a white pot, I have to find a soft place in the dirt where I can get this to sink in. Oh. It shines up on that white pot and it looks like a huge spotlight at night. And it lasts till well after midnight. Now I'm gonna let these coleus go to seed. We'll see what happens. If we get babies, I'll repot some of them and keep them and put them in the greenhouse. The hardy begonias that you see growing here with these beautiful pink flowers are plants that reseeded themselves. They're perennials. Okay, how is our Heuchera bed coming? Well, looks dry. Okay, here's the Heuchera that multiplies by putting out things. And I think I need to sink that into the dirt. And here is an example of, oops, daisy, plants that have failed. And I think that one is because it grows straight up and things die from the dirt up. I don't know the answer to this. This is a different growth habit. Caramel, perennial. Well, considering how many we put in here, what do we have? 1, 2, 3. Only 3 that have died. One is getting puny. That's interesting. Okay, so all the little smaller ones that I got are taking hold. You can tell it must be developing good roots because the plant itself, the leaves that it does have, it has sacrificed 1 or 2, but they're going to be all right. And you remember I bought some more green ones to back up the garden here because these beautiful purple ones just don't show up. Just don't show up. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so this pot is totally covered up. Now, you know what my philosophy is about pots. There's gardeners that spend horrific sums of money for really beautiful cement pots. And unless you're going to plant them high with no spillers to show off the pot, and a lot of us, like trailers, you're not going to see the pot. And this was, I guess maybe fiberglass or the equivalent of that, some sort of plastic amalgamation. And it was, I don't know, maybe $20 at Sam's. Ah, look at this. Look at how well these are doing. They're getting just the right amount of sun. And this is the pot inside of a pot in the dirt. Persian shield, mounding. And what does it say? Hardy to 40 degrees. Well, we get down to -2 sometimes, mostly in the teens. Average mature size is 4 to 6 foot high and 6 feet wide. Wow. Wouldn't that be marvelous in a garden where they could grow 24/7, 12 months of the year? Spacing 3 to 4 feet. Well, I put them close because they were small. They've probably quadrupled in size. So they're happy with whatever we're doing right now. It'll be so easy to pull those out and put them in the greenhouse, and that when we put them back out in May of next year, April or May, they'll be a good size. They'll be great. So this bed has the yellow daffodils in the spring. I think I have 300 or 400 planted in here, and they're all duplicating themselves. And because this is a area that gets, as you can see, it's getting some sun right now, but Impatients didn't do well, and the pansies didn't do well in the winter, and these hardy begonias are indestructible, and they come back every year. And when the sun shines through those green leaves, it's bright red. See if I can show you a little bit of that. See the back side of those leaves? How beautiful that is. And this pencil, oh gosh, what's the name of this? It's an evergreen. I had one in there that was about 18 inches tall and it failed. I was failing and I replanted it and it eventually died. This one is doing all right. It's a slow grower. That's supposed to be a little bit of a thriller. Now what's interesting is this ground cover usually dies back as soon as it gets hot sun. And for some reason or other, this year it has stayed and it is absolutely gorgeous. It has little yellow flowers in the springtime. It's great fun. So our Japanese anemones are blooming. Pink. And they get 2.5, 3 feet tall. I need to plant that hydrangea someplace. This Rex begonia is recouping. It got something just ate the daylights out of it. I'm going to have to cut it back, I think, and force it to grow stuff from down below. And this beautiful big begonia, this is from last year. We kept it over. I think at some point I'm going to experiment with cutting it back and see if it will have new growth from up close. That looks like it tries, so we'll have to see, because it's gotten all straggly. It looks like something's eaten on it, or I don't know what that's all about. How's this basket doing? Well, isn't that interesting? The snails really got into that, didn't they? I did put snail bait all around. So this pot has not done well this summer. I put in a yellow begonia that has stayed pretty much the same size. The vine has done all right, and the trailing potato vine has done well, but except being dinner for all the snail bait. And this with the orange tubular, I planted this for the hummingbirds, and this can get 3 feet tall. My brother. It's obviously not getting enough sun. We have them down by the road, and they're good 2.5, 3 feet tall, and so many of those tubular flowers. Now see, here's a beautiful coleus again, and see how this shows up, because when you have a shade garden, you just have every shade of green pretty much. And how do you get things to show up? Japanese anemones. They'll crowd everything out in your garden, but they're really easy to pull up. Got to pull the weeds and the things up when the ground is wet, and that's after a really good rain. Now you remember this pot, we cut back this chicken gizzard. It was, about another 10 or 12 inches tall, and it was getting leggy. So I cut it back, and look how it's filled out. And our Persian shield has grown. We'll get a nice little canopy with everything. Okay, so we're going to talk about bubblegum. So this might get 2 hours of sun in the afternoon, and obviously it's not enough. This coleus right here is just doing magnificent. Isn't that fantastic? Well, how do I show you? This area looks a little thin. Well, as I say, I'm going to come out and water and fertilize like crazy. I think it didn't get enough water while I was gone, else it was very, very hot. This azalea looks like it's half dead, but the truth is that it flowers beautifully with orange blossoms in the springtime, and I've made a huge effort to fertilize and water, and the truth is it looks pretty good. Here's our climbing hydrangea. they were going to find a home for. I bought one for Shirley, and we planted it. And Larry seems to think that we do have a place where we can get it to climb up a tree. So we'll give that a go here in the next week or so. Let's look at the lower deck. Oh, here we go. Would you look at my chicken gizzards? They're about 10 inches tall. And it looks like almost every single one survived. I think every single one did. Would you look at that? And healthy. Well, I think we're going to put those in the railroad ties and hope they get enough sun to do well. Now, this was this was the, so I could track how much root. See how much root there is on the rooting this in water versus dirt? Well, maybe that's how much root system it has in the dirt. So this was the bubble gum that I cut back hard, and I thought I left enough green, and it obviously wasn't. Although there is some green down here. I don't know, maybe you'll still come back. I don't know. I did a really hard prune. I should have pruned it sooner, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta do these things. I mean, you pay a price or take a risk when you do this. Now, I've just pulled this away from the wall here. This is the poinsettia that's been in the house downstairs. I'm going to pull it away again some more. And this was up too close to the fence. And see how whatever's growing is growing small and leggy? So we're going to give it a chance to bulk out a little bit. This is a bougainvillea that I've had for about 3 years. And this year, it really hasn't done anything. Maybe I need to repot it. And it may need more water and fertilizer. So would you look at how abundant. I think that's variegated wandering Jew. So look at all of these. Oh, a lot of spiders. So there's lots of babies here. I'd like to find some pretty pots and put those in pots for gifts. I have to find the right kind of pot. It has to be tall enough, or a hanging basket to make it, you know, give it time for it to have the trailing that its nature is. So the Impatients are doing well. We did try to plant some trailers in here of this. Some of them took and some of them didn't. You know, when you first, well, these did great. Look at those, because I tried to put 3 in each pot. Well, you have to keep the soil moist for at least 10 to 14 days, you know, if you're going to pot directly in the soil. You know, if you're going to put cuttings directly in the soil. That was in there from before last year. This one took off. The caregiver downstairs pulled these off of that plant over there by the storeroom, and she put these in here, and it looks like they're taking all right, doesn't it? A little slow, but it's okay. Oh, look at that. Nice underplanting. They're surviving with as little sun as they get down here. You see how the Impatients are reaching for the sun? There's no blossoms on this side because there's no sun. I mean, we're under an overhang, right? Isn't the sun pretty coming through the trees? Let's look down into the garden. There's Larry with his 4-wheeler. There's things that bloom, but you know, it's a garden, and so things come into season, then they go out, and then they come back. Something else comes out. And you know, I love the shadows of the sun coming through, casting shadows on the lawn. Well, I think that's enough for today. Thank you so much for sharing with me the garden, and I'm going to get busy watering. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.